Hey, Reddit ads are cheap, but they definitely ain't for everybody. I'm going to get into the top 5 things you need to know before running Reddit ads. And at the end, I'm going to let you know who these are for and who should stay far, far away. Let's get into it. Oh boy, Reddit ads. So for some reason, these have become a lot of people are just asking me about them and how do you do it and does it work like this and work like that and yada yada yada. So I'm just going to get into the 5 things that you got to know so you can decide if you should even go down this path, right? Because just because there's an ad platform out there doesn't mean you need to be using it necessarily. So the first thing you want to know is the CPMs. Now, if you're not in the ads world, CPMs means cost per mills or cost per 1,000 impressions. So every time your ads are shown 1,000 times, that's actually how you get charged. Most people think about the cost per click or conversions or something like that, but that's just a math game. The way that the algorithm or the way that the platforms figure it is cost per 1,000 impressions. So the CPMs are low, and I mean seriously low in some niches, like $3 low. And on Facebook, just as a comparison, that same audience might be $30. So you can tell that that's obviously a huge difference. But clicks on Reddit are often extremely low quality. And if it's not exactly what the user was expecting it to be or what should be in front of that particular user, you're going to get a lot of just crappy clicks. All right, number 2, targeting is it's kind of tricky. I mean, it seems like it would be straightforward, and I guess to some extent it is, but let me just kind of talk about the 3 ways. So and we're excluding retargeting and lookalikes and all that other stuff. But the first one would be you can target by keyword. So not unlike what you would do with a Google search, but it's not the exact same thing. So the keyword could be anywhere in. If somebody was typing in, how to do something or, how to, lose weight in menopause, let's just say, well, it may just pick up on weight, right? Or if you bid on weight, then it's just going to pick up on that part of it, even though you may be not wanting people who are in menopause, right? You might be wanting busy moms or somebody else, whatever it is. So keywords aren't they don't work exactly the same way, and you'll end up most of the time you end up with a lot of people that are out of market for what you're trying to do. So the second way is subreddit. So you can target by subreddit. The only challenge to that is the amount of people that are available. So if you're not familiar with Reddit to begin with, and frankly, a lot of people aren't, and I'm not. It's not like I use Reddit very often. I don't. So I'm not massively familiar, but I know what subreddits are, and I know a few of them out there that I could target and so forth. But the thing about them is that most of those audiences are super small and they're just not big enough to get in front of enough people to make most campaigns sustainable. So you have to keep that in mind before you try to target using subreddits. Now the third one is just kind of broad interest targeting. So it might be, and I'm just throwing stuff out there. And by the way, I'm going to do a complete video walkthrough of how to do a Reddit ad. So I'll go down that path, but that'll be a couple weeks or so. Nevertheless, broad interest targeting is more like, so you want to target people who are into automotive things, right? That just automotive in period, that's it. Or, you might want to target, people that are into, watching movies, right? That's just a very broad target. It's not narrow because movies could go across all kinds of different things. So the broad interest targeting is usually not super narrow enough. So how do you use it? Well, sometimes it's a combination of the subreddits and the broad interest. The fact is you just have to just test it like you do anything else and see which ones are getting you the results that you want. All right, here's number 3. So the culture on Reddit is aggressively anti-marketing, and which is kind of funny in some ways because I mean that's obviously how Reddit makes money. They have to use ads to help keep them in business. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a Reddit to begin with. So that's kind of the way it works, though, is that a lot of Redditors they hate being sold to, and they're very vocal about it. So if you don't have a thick skin when it comes to comments and stuff like that, then you probably don't want to run Reddit ads just in general. Your ad really has to feel native to the platform. on Facebook, and it's easy for me to draw the comparison to Facebook or Instagram, but you can put out these super polished ads, and sometimes they'll work, and everybody knows they're an ad. It's obvious it's an ad, but on Facebook you really get better results most of the time when it looks more like a post. But you can kind of do both, right? You can do both and test them out. On Reddit, it really doesn't work like that. You really need to make it look closer to what a native post would look like, and if you want to get good results. The other thing is, it's kind of strange, is that if you tend to write the copy like you're the go-to guru type person, the expert, it instead of being more educational, it usually doesn't go very well, because you just get blasted by people who want you to stop running ads. So sometimes that can be a problem that people aren't thinking about. So it's really, you have to be in the mode of, I want to do this as an educational ad, not much more than that. And if they take the next step, great. And if they don't, they don't. So you just want to kind of bear that in mind when you're coming up with your Reddit ads. All right, number 4. So attribution's kind of a black hole. It's hard to tell what's converting, and part of that has to do with the way that their tracking system works. You would think that it would be fairly straightforward and simple, like Twitter ads or Facebook or YouTube ads or whatever, but it's just not. So attribution often lags way behind, if it works at all, and it's hard to tell when you're setting up your ads if it's converting until you start running them. Like, you have to run them for a period of time to see if it's actually converting. You can't really test them in the same way. So if you're using return on ad spend to try to drive whether or not you want to use Reddit ads, it's going to make you crazy. It's just, you're going to have third-party attribution to make that work. So just know that that's kind of a black hole there. All right, number 5, Reddit ads are not a set it and forget it type of ad. So what happens on Reddit is, you're going to know fairly quickly if things aren't working. You're going to get to 3,000 impressions fast. So when you do, if it's not working, it's not going to work, and so you've got to be ready with something to go next. If you're going to be in a situation where you produce one ad, you put it out there and it doesn't work, then it takes you a week to do another one, and then, or whatever that looks like for you in your process, that's not going to work with Reddit ads. You need to be ready to go with multiple creatives and ready to test quickly. So if you're not used to testing, and frankly most people aren't, and that's okay, I'm just saying, if you're not used to it, then this is not going to be an easy transition for you to start doing that. And you've got to really be ready to pause the ads if they bomb, because if they bomb, it's going to happen fast. You're going to know it very fast. You're going to get a lot of impressions and no clicks or no conversions or whatever it is. All right, so that's the top 5. Now I want to talk to you about who Reddit ads are for. Okay, so if you do things like biohacking or crypto or productivity apps, stuff like that, that works really well on Reddit. Fitness gear for like younger guys and stuff. And if you're you're a marketer or a founder or whatever, and you're already hanging out on Reddit, then it's probably a good place to try it, because Reddit's more about, instead of trying to track direct ROI, it's more about bringing awareness so you can retarget them elsewhere and move them down the funnel or move them down the process. So that's kind of who ads work best for. Now, who they don't work for, which is not going to come as a shock, are like health and fitness coaches, course creators, targeting women over 35, stuff like that. That's not going to work. This is not a good place for you. Local services, definitely not a good place for you to run Reddit ads, because you can't target narrow enough to get in front of the people that you want to get in front of to make those work. And if you're one of these people who you have to have clear attribution models, that Reddit ads is probably not for you, at least not yet. I mean, it might be in the future, but today it's not going to work out. So Reddit can really chew you up and spit you out. And I hate to say it like that, but it can happen, and it happens fast. And if you start getting a lot of downvotes and so forth quickly, then that ad's just going to tank. So you have to be ready to go and ready to move quickly on Reddit. All right, that's what you need to know about Reddit ads. So what I would love to hear from you is, if you've been running Reddit ads and you've made them work, let me know. Pop me a comment, message me, whatever. And if you like this kind of stuff, please go ahead and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. All right, I'll see you guys on the next episode.